we'll be talking with Faith Wadishi, who is the Executive Director of Center for Transparency Advocacy. She was in Ondo State following the election, monitoring the election. Now, the election is come and gone. The results are out, and incumbent Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has been declared the winner by INEC. And the results is quite interesting with the overwhelming votes that he pulled as against other candidates. I mean, the PDP, Labour Party, and of course, other political parties, as it were. Faith, thank you so much for joining us on the program TMI on the ITV network. Give us an overview of the election, because we've been hearing about the conduct. It was peaceful and all of that. Give us an overview of the election for a start.
Okay, so thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good to see you again. It's been a very long time.
Thank you.
I was in Ondo. I spent about a week in Ondo, and so I followed a lot of the processes that followed the election, from the arrival of sensitive materials to the inspection at the CBN, distribution of materials to the local government and to the RATs, and then on election day, we followed through the entire process. Personally, I was on ground there. So as for the election being peaceful and calm, that's true. As soon as we got into the state, we interviewed a lot of people. It was calm, apart from one incident that happened on Wednesday night to Thursday early morning, where a political party went to destroy the posters of another political party. That happened in Akure. It went well. And then this is an improvement over the last Edo election as for the different stakeholders who were involved in this particular election, especially INEC. Logistics was very good because I followed the deployment of sensitive materials. Non-sensitive materials had been sent to the local government area earlier, but on Thursday, the sensitive materials were sent to the local government areas, and by Friday, 12 noon, they had distributed sensitive materials to the rack areas, which in other words you can call the wards, from where they were supposed to deploy on Saturday morning. So it was good, but the only thing that we saw in the election was the issue of vote buying, bringing up its head again. Vote buying has become like a culture within our electoral processes. And that's because the citizens were willing, they were ready. In fact, before the election, 3 days before the election, I went into the market, I went to some other places, and I was interviewing people, and people were saying, oh, they're going to sell their vote too. In fact, somebody, a few of the slogans I heard, because I had, some years ago in Ekiti, was the first time I came across this slogan, Diboko Sobe. Those who understand Yoruba, it literally means vote and make a pot of soup. And that was what people were saying. So after the election yesterday, before I left Ondo, I saw a few people. I said, okay, you have voted and you have gotten the money to make a pot of soup. I hope the pot of soup will last you for the next 4 years. So that has been it. It was okay. We also see now that there is need for us to pay particular attention on the political class, because they seem to be the weakest link in the entire electoral value chain and in the reforms that we are bringing. And then second to that will be the citizens. Because when citizens refuse to sell their votes, the political class will not amass money to buy votes. Interestingly, before the election, people were concerned that they didn't see the razzmatazz of the campaigns. In the Southwest, there's this razzmatazz of campaigns. You see people drumming around the streets and all of that. People felt that the election, the campaign period was too calm. And I just told them, well, perhaps they're keeping the money to buy votes. And we saw that they actually brought out the money to buy votes on election day. Okay. One interesting thing that also happened, especially the security agents, they were very professional. Okay. Though with some or two cases, the INEC people were also very professional in conducting that. But the political class, we need to do something about that. And citizens selling their votes, we really need to declare a state of emergency on that.
All right, there's something quite striking that you mentioned in the course of your analysis. It has to do with the fact that there was less of political activities in terms of engaging the issues, I mean, bringing the issues that the people should be concerned about to the front burner. We saw less of that, and yet in this election, the party and the candidate that emerged had over 300,000 votes. Closest is the PDP, which just had a little bit above 100,000. What do you make of these numbers? What do you make of these figures?
So it shows that we have just a little above, just between 25% voter turnout, with over 2 million voters in the state, and you are having 25% of that number, deciding who becomes the leader. And if you want to do a statistics, perhaps 10% or 15% actually sold their votes, to that. Maybe that political party, perhaps that's why the issues that you are having, because it was a question of whose pay was higher than the other. So we need to begin to look at this, and that's why I say that when we focus on the political class, we need to also look at the citizens, especially the younger ones. Going around election that day, I saw and I observed that the younger ones between the ages of 18 to 30, we didn't see that population. Even though the Nigerian population is described as a young population because of the youth purge that we have there, we're increasingly not seeing them participate in this electoral process. Rather, you're having young persons, maybe 30, 35, and then very old persons, because I saw old persons 80. One of the oldest I saw was about 93 years old, and she's a person with disability. She came out to vote, and when I asked her why she came out to vote, she said she cannot stay at home while elections are happening, and that she feels that this is her own contribution to making Nigeria a better place. I was inspired by that. Imagine having young people have that kind of inspiration or mentality towards our election. Perhaps it can be better. And the number of people who come out to vote decides who will win. And because the law says it is simple majority, it is just simple majority. So even if you had 10% people who came to vote, it's that 10% that will decide that. So you have less than 25% deciding who becomes the governor of a state or the president of a country. It means that it is those people's vote who have decided that. But the significant thing about this is that a lot of people refuse to come out to vote. And when they don't come out to vote, they have actually casted their votes. In other words, because the total number of people who come out to vote are the ones who decide that. It's something we really need to. The civil society, media, and INEC, and every stakeholder, especially the political class, should look at engaging citizens, ensuring that citizens have the right information to come out to be part of this process. And I think that the gap that we have is the fact that we don't have programs targeted at young persons. Outside the civic education that we do in secondary school, there is no targeted program for children who leave secondary school and are waiting that period. Perhaps you leave secondary school at 16, maybe 15, 16, between 16 to 18, when somebody should be looking forward to getting the voter's card and be part of that process. There is no deliberate effort to keep this civic education so that people know what their rights and responsibilities are. People know that coming out to vote is part of the responsibility of a citizen who is 18 years and above. So you don't have that space. We don't have enough information to keep people keep people engaged. And if this thing is not nipped at the bud, we will continuously have low voter turnout just because the law and the constitution says it is a simple majority. Then at the end of the day, even if only 10 people come out to vote, we'll declare a winner because it's simple majority.
All right, Afraid, the state of the economy, I mean, the hardship being experienced in the country right now, has always been a major talking point, particularly for a state that has election, just like Ondo. We saw that also in Edo State. Do these results reflect the disposition of the electorate towards the state of the economy, towards the policies and programs of the federal government led by the APC, as it were?
So it doesn't. That's why I say that we need to really engage citizens. Citizens should understand that with their PVC, they are the CEOs of the country, the power to hire and fire. And if you don't understand, if you are not able to interpret your power to hire and fire, definitely anybody can come to take it. So when you equate your power to hire and fire to how much you are paid on election day to cast your vote for a certain person, even when you don't agree with the programs and policies of that person, it means that we have misplaced our priority. And it's quite unfortunate political class have decided to weaponize, whatever, poverty, and then bring out this money. Imagine I told you people were saying they want to vote and make a pot of soup that doesn't last. That is for them their immediate concern. Be able to take care of the stomach, be able to take care of their own well-being within a certain period, and they're waiting for another 4 years. You are not you don't even go out on the field and you hear people talking about the policies, what I want to see change, what I want to see that, and people say, oh, as soon as they get into office, they do whatever they want to do. They're never able to fulfill their promises. We were once in this country where we had a presidential candidate who came out with 100 days for action every day, and 3 months into that government, people were questioning them about this 100 days, and it was a different kettle of fish altogether. We are not engaging issues. Even the politicians are not engaging issues. They're just saying what people want to hear. We're going to do this, but they're not coming out to say how we are going to do that. And they're not putting things in place that will help citizens, hold them accountable. Citizens are no longer, holding elected officials accountable. They're no longer holding them. They're not even interested in what they are saying to them on the at the campaign. Some are only interested in how maybe perhaps you give me back my transport fare, you give me t-shirt, or you give me wrapper. Those kind of things. And it's quite unfortunate. That's why I say we need to engage the political class, and then secondly engage citizens, do a reorientation of what our values are. Where should we put all of this? What is a moral obligation on elected officers to at least keep their words, those things they have promised on election day? At least even if they can do 10% of that, then people can put a lot more trust in the system. But you see the issue of nepotism, tribalism, the issue of poverty, and then people not engaging these ideals. Our political parties really are not formed around ideals. That's why it's even during election campaigning period, somebody can easily move to another political party, move to the other political party. So it's not about what the programs are doing. Even the political parties that say they are targeting young people, what programs do they have for young people? Even when they are elected, maybe as members of the House of Assembly, or we see like we have some people from those political parties at the National Assembly. What have they done? They have not even moved motions. They have not even brought about bills on the floor that will address their constituency they say they are representing. Okay. So it's quite unfortunate that we don't have addressing issues. Rather, we're looking at just putting money in people's pocket for the short time.
All right, just before we let you go, let's quickly look at some of the reactions trailing the Ondo State governorship election outcome. President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Lucky Aiyedatiwa and telling the PDP and others in the process to go to court. Then, of course, the PDP has rejected the result of the outcome. On the part of the Labour Party candidate is blaming Peter Obi and the NLC for the poor performance of the Labour Party. Can you just merge all of this together and give me your final thoughts before we let you go?
So these are things that you see for every election. So you have different reactions, those on the winning side and those on the losing side. I quite sympathize with the Labour Party candidate because he was confirmed on Thursday, just less than 48 hours to the election because of all of this. And this also is what we are talking about, internal party democracy. I was there on the collation ground on Saturday from 12 a.m. to about 2 a.m. when the first 13 local government areas were announced. The PDP party agent was there. Some other political party agents were there. And it was one, I think, Idore local government area where the PDP party agent raised a concern. But every other local government, out of the 13 local government areas, he didn't raise any concern. He kept saying, okay, everything was going on well. Then the question is, if people are disputing the results of this election, what is the feedback from their party agents that were on the field? So it's important to do that. And this idea of saying go to court is quite discouraging. If things have been done properly, then we should be able to be magnanimous enough to accept the results that come up. And this is where the courts play a role. INEC declares an election a result, but it is not after the courts have decided. So in actual fact, the courts are the ones who decide the outcome of an election. Even though declaration has been made, the outcome of an election is decided by the court. Do we have to continue to do that? We have seen a lot of cases where even the courts, in their decisions, were not too right, and people were concerned about that. But this is the learned profession, and they know better. So we need to look at all of these things to be able to have an electoral process that citizens have a trust in. But I must say, in this election, a lot of lessons were learned from the Edo election. I was also on ground in Edo during the Edo election. I followed all of the elections. This has been an improvement, and I think whatever magic that INEC did on the logistics of this, there should be a continuation of that strategy that was put in place.
All right, many thanks, Faith Wandishi, Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, joining us from Abuja to review the outcome of the just concluded Ondo State governorship election. Of course, she was there all through till the conclusion of that election. Thank you again, Faith, for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.